What is up, ladies and gentlemen? Another Acropolis number 3 Gauntlet Stage A cast coming at you, and I know that was a big word salad mouthful, but it's all right. It's all right, because we have Protoss versus Protoss, simple as. Alexander will like this cast because it involves a lot of Protoss dying. Any other Protoss enjoyers or disenjoyers in the chat, make yourselves known in the comments section, because we have the Shambler down here in the bottom right as the black Protoss. And he's going up against SmrtyCakes in the top left as the dark green Protoss. Both players going for gateway starts here on Crisis Vector, a map by Jujic, a very solid situation there for Jujic here, who is adminning this set, I believe. Because SmrtyCakes is the other admin that did a lot of work in this event so far. It was myself, Jujic, Smarty, not in that order. Jujic definitely did way more matches. I think it was probably like Jujic, Smarty, me, Cannoli, something like that. Anyway, shout out to those homies who have supported the Gauntlet stage and the Tribunal stage by adminning matches. And once again, we are still looking for more homies to play and participate in the Gauntlet stage B. So if you're interested in qualifying to the most stupendous and prestigious tournament of Cause Monarchy, then make sure to sign up. It requires you to be in our Discord server. Feel free to join and enjoy yourself. And I will see you guys there, almost certainly. So we have this 2-gate build from multiple players here, and I am looking forward to just seeing basically where Protoss versus Protoss is at, right? Because we saw gateway wars between Smarty and Kasuga, and we saw gateway wars fail miserably when Smarty tried to do it against Arbuz. And so he is going to go for that third gate on one base. And so too is the Shambler, so perhaps this will be an even match where neither player is opting into the lattice to dissuade that immediately. It's kind of interesting because if both players go lattice, I actually think you're fine. Lattice units don't have the same endless loop against each other, partially because you can make lattice units that counter other lattice units, at least do well versus other lattice units. From the same structure, right? So it's not like Gateway where the superior composition is really just like more numbers of the same units. Of course, you could add more Hierophants. We saw a little bit of subtleties to the Gateway war in Kasuga and SmrtyCakes' best of 5 in the Tribunal stage. So it's not without any nuance. We see Shambler here going for Legionnaires as an early start, which is also pretty interesting. So yeah, I'm curious as to where this one is going to go. And we do have another Protoss versus Protoss developing. The match that we cast later on in this tournament will be Kasuga Arbuz. So Arbuz, the number 2 seed in the whole tournament, favored to take it and qualify in, I guess you could say joint first place, right? First to second place alongside Top Ramen. We'll see if those two are true, if that ends up going the way. Really, I think what we need to see out of the Shambler is something honestly more convincing than just winning with Gateway Wars, but I guess if he wins with Gateway Wars, he can hold his more typical like idle spam into mass artisan style for those PvPs against Arbuz, right? He's definitely got something cooking here with the Legionnaires. We're going to see if they pose much of a threat to SmrtyCakes, who is being pretty defensive, and now adding his 4th gate after a Warden in the mineral line, which we do not see on Shambler's side. I guess probably he's worried that Shambler has pivoted away from the 2-gate into Lattice, since that is historically what he has done. And so he just wants to insulate himself versus drops, vassals, run-bys, anything of the sort. But as of right now, I'd say his Zealot-heavy army is definitely going to be favored against what Shambler has. Shambler was pressuring out here to see if there was going to be a Nexus. He'll probably try to dive the ramp at some point, but I don't think he's going to get too far. And there's his Warden defensively. At any point, the player with more map control can kind of cut worker production, or cut unit production rather, and go straight into their expand. I would not be surprised to see that, although it would be kind of a momentous occasion for the Shambler to build a Nexus. He's never done that in a tournament game. That's probably not true. I'm sure he's built a Nexus at some point during the Tribunal stage. But he is going to go ahead and try to apply some pressure here as Smarty has put down his 5th gate and a Nexus. And yeah, again, those Zealots are going to be just fine here against the Legionnaires. And plus they have Hierophant support, right? So the attack speed is going to help them shred things. Looks like some of these Ecclesiasts will get caught on the way out, but when they die, they speed boost other Protoss units. So Shambler should be fine to retreat. Now, can he go for his own Nexus? The answer is a decided no. He needs to spend down on Zealots to deal with his opponent's Zealots. He's kind of bought into the Gateway War, and he's not necessarily winning, not just because we've got 5 gates to his 4, but also because Smarty has an Nexus coming, right? And so worker production has been pretty steady. Obviously, one player, one worker up, not really the most significant, but Shambler has been slightly, marginally more impactful there with his worker count. And that's going to be evened out very, very quickly. If the Zealots end up going down for either player, you are going to see the fight start to swing in the other direction. And we only have a couple of Zealots here for Smarty. He's going to get outnumbered very quickly, and now it feels like he might be throwing away some advantage here as he retreats back to his natural, which is not actually set up. Now he's going to try to fight around the power generator, providing some nice little body blocking there as the Protoss army starts to fall back here for Shambler. He's going to try to collapse upon him with Zealot reinforcements. Not a bad idea. But with that Zealot not going down, thanks to all the Ecclesiast healing, there's no proc of Ascension. And no, his units are blocking him because they're on rally. He allowed so many of his rally units to block him instead of grabbing them too and ordering them. I guess at the very least, they're sowing some chaos and slowing this approach. Shambler will not be moving across the map. We've got a Warden coming down, but it feels like Smarty needs a Matrix and a Bulwark or something like that to finish the job. Let's see what he ends up adding as he starts to send workers down to that base. The Zealots are going to run all the way in, and eventually, Shambler is moving across the map despite that. So will we end up seeing much of anything? It feels like they could have gotten a decent number of scribe kills there, but not going to happen. Shambler going for the Grand Library. He has built a pylon. It's absolutely shocking. He's going to add multiple embassies to see if he can start getting up to his artisan count. And with a gateway to really block things up here, clog things up on the way to approach the natural, it feels like SmrtyCakes is going to be just fine on the defense, but he does need to get some more workers down here. That's for sure. Looks like he has transferred some down, though. Yeah, he's at the optimal amount here in the main, so he's done his due diligence. He's certainly biasing himself towards the Vespene. We'll see what he decides to switch into there. I didn't see any Sedents this game, so we'll see if that changes, as they are quite useful. This fight is just going to be kind of a sustained fight. We have the Bulwark, we have the Warden, helping to restore the shields for SmrtyCakes. It doesn't really seem like Shambler's going to be able to break into here, especially with those Zealots still strong enough to hold the line here. A lot of Ecclesiast. Oh, he attacks his own gateway for some reason. He's like, hey, look at that. Isn't that a fancy thing? You should attack that instead of my units. And Shambler's like, I don't think so. Artisan starting for Shambler back at home. He is going to start to try to sort of push down that gateway. It is very, very slowly being restored by the Bulwark there. I guess the Ecclesiasts can slowly break it down, but it does feel like this is going to be a little bit too difficult. Remember, Smarty hasn't made any other tech, right? It's just gateways. Shambler, on the other hand, made the Grand Library, but I don't think he's made anything out of it just yet. And his Zealots are all but gone, so he does need to start falling back. And he has no expansion, and his Artisans aren't mining. So kind of a rough stuff here. He is going to have a Cantavis out. Oh, I kind of like Smarty's position better. His Nexus is obviously mining. He's going to be able to expand his tech shortly. He's got a slightly increased army advantage, but it's only by 5. That's going to be evened out by the production over here in one rotation. Plus the Artisans can be pulled to fight if need be in a desperate bid. The power generator is now being exfoliated to prove a little bit more room for Smarty's army movement. Occupy his troops for a moment. He's got a bunch of idle workers back behind the geysers over here. Still no tech, still no pylon either, so Smarty sticking to the gateway war, it seems. And yeah, now, I mean, he does have a superior army in terms of number, but I don't know that it's going to matter. Remember that Cantavis is over here by the ramp, and these fights take long enough. The way Protoss work in Cosmonarchy, the way how durable they are, these fights take long enough. I think the Cantavis is going to add a lot of value here. You can see Smarty thinking about just charging in, but he's kind of getting booted back. And the Storm, it wasn't really so good, but a little bit of value gained by walking into it. You want to cancel that if you're Shambler so that it doesn't keep draining the energy. There you go. That's a money storm. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Softening up a lot of those units. It adds up over time. It's kind of like in StarCraft 1 PvT, you storm the SCVs, and then the second time you do the storm drop, it kills all the SCVs. That's kind of what we're seeing here. It's going to chain some value. Those workers finally getting back to work. So the worker disadvantage here for Smarty is actually a little bit worse than it looked. Although, I mean, really, I think his economy is still better, right? I mean, he's not as much for Vespene, but definitely for the minerals. He's got way more minerals incoming, so... Still, this is a really, really difficult fight to take. He does have the superior Ecclesiast count, but not the superior Zealot count. The one Hierophant for Shambler is definitely going to help out, and his Artisans are starting to pay out dividends. Saturating all of the geysers across the map. Zealots and Ecclesiasts moving forward. Double Cantavis. The storms will stack, although their overlapping damage is less than it would be if it was spread. Each stacking storm deals reduced damage, so it's not the most advisable tactic there, but so far, so good. The facility of Crisis Vector has a lot of Protoss in one spot, and oh my god, the clumping. Yeah, those Cantavises are doing very well. Smarty is making a Crucible behind him as he attempts to continue pushing through. He's so clumped up, man. The Cantavises are still alive. It looks like one of them was being heckled earlier. This Hierophant was on a rally for a second. Still, it kind of looks like it is, but no. Just taking a roundabout route. And yeah, this looks like it's a lot harder for... he right-clicked the Cantavis with a couple of stray Zealots. It looks a lot harder for Smarty to hold on here. He needs some other tech. He made the Pylon, made the Crucible. Where's the tech, brother? You can't just have more Gateway units. That's not going to help you here. I swear, some Protoss players just think you just make more gateways. Shambler showing what you can do with a little bit of extra tech, although his Cantavis is getting picked! Oh, look at that! That might help turn the tide over. When you manage your Cantavises like that, I think you deserve to lose the fight, but I'm not actually sure Shambler will. He's got so many Ecclesiasts clumped up into one spot. There is this flank on the right-hand side here. The firing squad. The Zealots not able to break through the Ecclesia shields of Smarty, and Shambler is going to be routed. Big mistake there. Losing the Cantavis. He's got 3 more in fact, and he is producing more as we speak. The 3rd Grand Library on the way. He just wants to pump Cantavis and slam him out. I don't think he's in any danger of dying because Smarty has not switched over his tech, right? It's pure gateway with a Crucible. Where's the tech? He's adding even more gateways. Dude, Smarty is actually hitting the sauce. He refuses to move away from the gateway. And I think that will be his ultimate demise. We might be locked in to some absurd gateway wars here, but the Cantavises are going to eventually stack up enough. I don't think Shambler's going to make the same mistake of frontlining with them as he did in the last fight. Not this time. Oh, never mind. He did it. But the storm is still good. A little bit of friendly fire there. Doesn't do reduced damage to allies, so pretty similar in that respect. I don't know. Where's the storms? Shambler's got to get those storms. Oh, he's got to fall back before that happens. Yeah. I mean, they just shred the Zealots is the problem. They do, especially when you stack a few of them up there. I know it's diminishing returns, but it still ends up working really, really nicely to rend the Zealots, take care of business there. And he's starting to saturate these resources. You know, I gave him too much credit. I said Shambler would build a Nexus this game. He is not building a Nexus, in fact. He is one base artisaning. And he's got 20 workers to the better for Smarty, who is still on the 2 base, still saturated enough, but I really don't like this pure gateway move, man. I don't think it's going to work. Maybe he could still do an Omega flank. It just feels like he would have to entirely erase the army of Shambler in order to kill him. You know what I mean? I guess maybe if he keeps this army as it is in terms of size and builds up enough of an army to backstab into the main base and, you know, he can win by elimination. But now we've got Grand Libraries and Gateways being added here by Shambler. Adding more gateways at this point is so absurd. I can't believe that's what Smarty went for his 3rd base coming at the, I guess you can call that the 1 o'clock position. It's not quite 12. Well, Smarty's coming in. He's dangling in for another attack. The Cantavis are on the front line again. I feel like he could have swung on that real quick and smashed him, but I don't think it matters too much, as there's so many more where that came from. All the Vespene that Shambler's harvesting, gobbling up, drinking up. Good grief. And, you know, the worst part is that nobody's splitting their army, right? They're basically, like, Shambler obviously has the Grand Library stuff, and he is adding a prostration stage now. We've got Stargates coming for Smarty, so at least finally some kind of tech switch. But now he's going to see all of the Artisans, and surely that's going to make him think, okay, maybe that's what the Stargates are for. I'm going to go for, you know, land effects and try to sweep all of the Artisans off. And I don't think that's really much of a comeback potential, but I guess if he sets up his third base without dying, he could also take this. Double gas base, too. Maybe it's a possibility. Maybe it's a possibility. As of right now, though, again, nobody splits their army. Shambler is going to move across the map here. And it looks like he might actually get found out. In fact, yeah, indeed, he is going to get found out. These artisans moving to the reservoirs in the middle of the map. Ideal for advanced workers. You can return to the treasury with taluses or with Gosvala. Man, I really am not liking the look of this. This is looking real rough here for Smarty. I think he's about to get shellacked. He's got exemplars coming, but they're not going to be in time. His third base will fall, almost certainly. But Shambler's choosing to crash upon the army instead. And remember his Cantavis, his heralds as well in the way back. They're not really helping out too much yet, but there's the storm. The first of many to come, and Smarty can't get away from it. Smarty feels locked in. He's got a little bit of a battle on another front, but that storm is cutting through. There's another one in the back line. Drakodons had begun to be merged in, but Storm is very good at reaching them as well. The Zealots are just relentless, and it looks like this is the elimination of the bulk of Smarty's army. You can say, sure, Smarty's doing some damage with the reinforcements, but that bisection from Shambler, definitely valuable. The Storms are going to get a lot of more value. Wow, look at that. Almost 3k damage dealt as the Storm continues to find value. He's got Exemplar, but I don't know if it's quite enough. I love all of the units walking through his own Storm as well. And the one Zealot killing Scribes over here and heckling the Nexus. No harvesting is going to happen there. Oh, okay, well, the Cantavis might get sniped by the Exemplar at least, but the Storm softening them up. There's so many. There's still so many Cantavis, man. What are you going to do about that? Quad Storm stacked up together. This is only game one. And here comes the Lannies to try to disable, but they're not actually getting onto the field, and I think that was a little bit of an anemic approach with them. The Storm on top of everything else. The Bulwark trying to counteract it. Not going to be enough. Oh, Storm on the workers. The Matrix trying to keep them alive. It's barely not possible. It looks like Shambler won't be able to bust him just yet, but I think he's done the damage, right? He's killed a lot of the workers at the natural. He's shut down the third before it could even do anything. He's got more Stormers where that came from as well, even though a few of them have gone down. And his spread of the Ecclesiast is enough to eventually break out against the land effects. And there they go. Some Panoptises are out as well. Maybe this is a little bit too much for his ground force. He's got this huge stack of them. He decided not to move them, rally them downward. Some random Smarty Zealots are still here, by the way. What the hell? They're allied. They're turncoats. They're like, screw this. I don't want to be on that guy's team. Panoptis not bad for hunting down the Cantavis, honestly. Single targeting them is a big deal, but they are not being monitored right now. Instead, the body block is real. Holy shit. Those Zealots really confused things. Well, he's now trying to pressure those Artisans. Remember I don't know what happened to the Panoptises may have died to the Storm, which would be really unfortunate. The Lannies are here, but they're a little bit too late, it feels like. Try to pepper down some of these Artisans, but they need to fly over here in order to get the hell out of Dodge. Yeah, okay, he's going to try to do that. I don't think he's gotten any kills with them. Yeah, there's the Storm you got to watch out for. He's doing a lot of micro, but he's got nothing training right now, so the macro definitely slipping. He's going to continue flying around and see even more where that came from. At least he got a kill. Oh, look at that. He's going to get like 4 kills out of that. That's not bad. There's still a couple of Zealots over here, by the way, still adding more confusion. What a deranged match, honestly. They really don't like that Warden. And they will break it, but this is a depleted base. Not going to be the most useful. Third base. The Nexus was never destroyed, so I guess it can be re-upped there. Land Effect hides in the corner. We'll swoop on down to see if it can pressure more Artisans. The macro routines seem to have fallen off a little bit here, but Shambler is restoring his Artisan count. Way better military in terms of numbers. We've got Exemplars stacking up together, but it does feel like a pair of Panoptises to snipe those Cantavis would have been well afforded. And now it feels like this... I mean, this game has been over for a while, but... This is going to have to be the death knell. I mean, there's so many Protoss units coming in here to cancel this third base. Exemplar do get rid of some of the Cantavis, so there is that, but there's more where that came from in a big way, and that Nexus is not long for this world. Bases depleting. Main, yes. Natural, soonish. It's actually held on life support by the fact that the workers were killed earlier by storms, so it's going to deplete slower. But that's not a good thing. That means Smarty still has less money. And all his gateways are idle. He's only making exemplars. He's got 5 of them. He's got 2 more on the way. I mean, they're pretty powerful units, but they're not this powerful. He's going to try to see if he can't snipe some of the Cantavises down. Oh, dangerous, dangerous. A lot of them are going down, but I feel like the tidal wave, like it's not a riskless pursuit here. The Zealots are so damn numerous here, and there's the storms on all the exemplars. They're so wounded. Another couple storms like that, and those exemplars are going to go to kaput. Oh yeah, the blanket is real. None of them have gone down just yet. One of them's gotten very, very close. At this point, Shambler is storming his own army, and it's still not enough to equalize. He's running into the storm. He's running into the storm, trying to smash all of those Cantavises. But remember, we've got Ecclesias mixed in here as well. That's going to be the end of the mineral line here in the natural. And the ground army is still more than scary enough. He's got 1 Cantavis left. I don't know. The Pariahs are still here as well. You got to watch out for those with air units. Smarty being stubborn. He's refusing to GG. But this is over. This has been over. There's another flock of units waiting to come up. There is no hope for Smarty. He cannot win. He is done. I don't know why the Pariah wasn't attacking him the whole time, but there's a storm to help out a little bit. Increase the attack speed of everybody else to tear down the structures more. And yeah, I mean, you could switch all your gateway production into Dracodons now, but he's making Atriuses instead. That works out too. And I think it's I think, you know what, it's fair to just fast forward at this point. I don't know why Smarty is GGing. And he didn't even, yeah, he let himself be eliminated rather than type GG. Well, I don't know if it was a GG. It was a G. There was a game played there. Let's go on to game number 2 and see if Shambler can close it in 2, or if we are going to a decider, as we have the whole rest of the tournament so far. Well, here we are, finding ourselves in map number 2, between the Shambler and SmrtyCakes. Shambler will be our red Protoss in the top right, and SmrtyCakes will be our saffron? Lemon Protoss in the bottom right. Well, channeling Neb Lime, then. Perhaps he will be able to bring us to a 3rd map decider after all. This is Blackwater Bastion, a map by Biddy B, a 4-spawner. And we have vertical spawns here, sharing the right side of the map. Of course, gateway start for Smarty, and some Vespene has been harvesting by Shambler. I think that means he will be going Lattice, but we will find out shortly. While we wait to find that out, though, let's talk about... Indeed, that is a Lattice. Let's talk about the pick ban. So we have ourselves here the veto between these 2 players. Crisis Vector was our opener after Decapitation and Brainstorm bans. I guess it's not a surprise to see Brainstorm vetoed, but I'm surprised Smarty was the one to do it. We have Blackwater Bastion as his pick, and then following that we had Check Stealer and Near Impact. And so I'm kind of curious about Near Impact being vetoed by Smarty. You know, Brainstorm, whatever, it's not a huge deal, but interesting that he ends up vetoing Near Impact afterwards. That's a map that usually he does play pretty well on. So now we've got double Lattice for Shambler and double Gateway for SmrtyCakes. This doesn't look good already for Smarty, but if he can scout where his opponent is and what he's doing, then he should absolutely be capable of pivoting this build into a 2-gate nexus into some kind of transition of tech. Because Lattice units are very rarely going to be able to attack you. 2-gate will at least get you Strider count to contend with Shambler's Artisan-heavy style and kind of guard those expansions. Obviously, you can use Hierophants and Zealots to control the Lattice units themselves, but Dracodons can also be very adept at kind of patrolling the positions. So I feel like, generally speaking, Smarty can turn this into a salvaged position. We already have an embassy coming for Shambler, so we already know what his tactic is here. The problem that I'm seeing is that SmrtyCakes has very rarely pivoted from Mass Gate, and he's already putting down a 3rd gate without scouting what his opponent is doing. And so I'm almost already ready to declare SmrtyCakes the loser of this series. This is only a best of 3. We are only going to whoever gets to 2 match wins first, and the 4th gate just makes me feel even more so like that. But I will give a little bit of an olive branch to what Smarty is doing, a chance for Smarty to surprise us, because this is a style that goes less for units, less for fast expo, and more for the artisan count. And so there is a chance, albeit somewhat slim, that Smarty can overwhelm Shambler's position with nothing but the Gateway Army, and we'll see what happens there. His Legionnaire is going to scout out, see no Nexus, and perhaps get into the base. The Hierophant not quite able to connect on that Vassal. This Legionnaire was on attack move, so it doesn't end up moving away from the ramp and seeing what it can scout, but he knows that it's Lattice, obviously, because of the Vassal, and he sees the unit count back at home. He might be able to surmise it was 2 Lattice. And Shambler's making good adaptations already. This is another issue, is that if your opponent just decides, okay, instead of putting down a second embassy, the way Shamblers usually want to do, we might end up going for mass lattice, earlier extra unit production, and then just try to shred the Zealot Ecclesiast with Manifold Idol. And so that ends up being the situation that I think Shambler is going to push the game towards. And Smarty going for fast 4-gate, it doesn't mean that he can't take a Nexus sometime soon. He can just stop producing units off of the gateways if he wants the Nexus. But will he do that? I don't know. He doesn't necessarily seem to be the fastest expander in the West. So let's see. Let's find out. I think his playbook PvP does need some updating. Especially after his crushing defeat against Arbuz Budesh 3-0 in the Tribunal stage, where besides the first game, there wasn't really that much life from Smarty. It does feel like this is a bit puzzling that he's gone for this kind of style, when we kind of know it's already been shown that it's not necessarily the best one. But at the very least, it won't be Shambler opting into the Gateway War, right? He's going for Lattice, he's going for Artisans, his own little personal style. Looks like he's rallying out some Artisans to the top left expansion there, which I do actually think some credit has to be given. He can defend his natural with ground units. He can defend these other bases just by virtue of them being so far away. If Shambler does start to stretch his workers out to that location, it represents a little bit of thought that's gone into this play, because he's basically saying, you're going to have to go all the way across the map to attack my harvesters instead of just basically pressuring my Nexus here, right? So the style does give your opponent a lot of map control, a lot of opportunity, a lot of agency, but you can use it to your advantage by rallying in this general vicinity, in this general direction, and then going from there. So we'll see. We'll see what happens. He's made a pylon as well, so even though he won't make Nexuses, I appreciate that he's one of the rare Protosses to make a pylon. We love that. Smarty moving out with his, I was going to say quad gate. It's actually 5 gate, so quintuple gate. He's got lots of Zealots, he's got Dracodons, he's got Hierophants. A couple of Ecclesiasts as well. It seems like a fine army overall, but Manifold Idol usually does pretty well for it. That being said, again, there is that outside chance that even with quad lattice, maybe Shambler gets shambled by all of the Zealot Ecclesiast, Zealot, the Dracodon Hierophant as well. That could indeed be the case. We'll have to find out together as the idols send their first couple shots out. Shambler responding to the presence by pivoting back up a little bit, and his Artisans will be getting got here. So that's 2 of them going down. He's got 3 on the other side, so he can still harvest a little bit on that front. His Vassal's still watching for any drops that might leave the base, or flyers in general. As this is a close spawn position vertically, it does mean that you can go for drops. I would actually love to see potential idol drops or something, but this amount of idols is just impossible to break through, especially with those manifolds increasing their armor pen. The Zealots are going to get shredded by that, so good for Smarty to withdraw, but it does allow Shambler to get into a more advantageous ball here, and despite the fact that there's no ramp to choke these armies through, the manifolds are able to get into the action as well. I guess he only has the 2. If that one goes down, it becomes a little bit easier. There's only 1 armor pen per manifold. So actually, you know what? The Strider count here might be enough to set Shambler back and reset his army. I don't think it's... Yeah, actually, all of a sudden, I see a completely different story unfolding here before my very eyes. Now, ramps can still be very hazardous to move through, even with ranged units. There's no artillery here to deal with that, so it does look like Shambler will hold on. Remember, he's got more idols coming. The Grand Library isn't making anything right now, but it could be. Amaranths or something of the sort to just frustrate the opposition, slow them down on their approach. This Artisan is going to get bopped. You see Smarty checking 12 o'clock. Is he going to check these top left areas? I don't know, but that would be the next place that he would need to, and that would essentially nullify the advantage. He hasn't killed the second Artisan to move down to the 3rd base, so not completely nullified. The Warden's going to make him safe from any would-be harassment from this Vassal. Dracodons could obviously snipe it, but Smarty's not immediately responding to it. Or is he? There you go. There it goes. All right. So no more scouting for Shambler. And look at this. He's actually going to have to pull away with his Artisans. So not bad on the reaction time from both players, but glad that Smarty, for SmrtyCakes, he checks that. He watches out for that. Yeah, just sending one Dracodon is way more than enough. If it was an Ecclesiast, I'd say, the Artisans can take care of that, but one Dracodon is pretty good. Definitely pretty good for dealing with that. Buying a little bit more time as Shambler gets his Cantavis stack out. He clearly wants to use that, even with the idle front line, if you want to call them that. They're not the greatest front line. He's got some golems, though. Golems are very, very good in this stage of the game. Another Artisan going down at the third base here. The Garrison continuing. This Dracodon's even going to move up here and clear this Artisan out. Shambler going to have to pull it away. Is that on a patrol? Oh, okay. He's just going to manually check all the bases. Yeah, that's not bad. This Artisan could decide to try to pivot to that top left natural, but instead he's just going to take his own nat. And we do have an Nexus warping in now for Smarty. His quintuple gate not going to be serving him much better for too much longer. Mass Embassy now. This is where the Artisan flock can really start to move mountains. Yeah, I mean, the line of scrimmage here, it's not great for Shambler that he's losing some of these units early on. He needs to get them in. The Cantavis has got to do a lot of work on these clumped up Dracodons. Pretty good stuff as a counter there, but it hasn't been leveraged yet. I wonder if Smarty caught wind of that, saw the Cantavis lurking about. We've got, I think there was another structure being warped here. It must have been canceled, or maybe I just hallucinated it. Cantavis can cast Hallucinate. Maybe they did that on me. Well, I guess Smarty's position isn't as bad and dire as I thought it was, but he is going to need to figure out what his tech transition is. If it's more gateways, I'm already throwing my keyboard at him, like, what the hell are you doing, dude? But he definitely has a lot of agency in this matchup. The armies are not going to be able to necessarily win versus each other, but I favor the Strider-heavy army of Smarty in a head-on fight. As long as he just works to contain, the Cantavis can kind of slowly push them back, but the idle units and stuff, the lattice units can't really fight there. Embassy, double Ardent. That's going to be the transition du jour. SmrtyCakes. I guess if he goes for a Cantors, it can definitely help out versus this composition that's enough heavy hitting that you're not going to be sustaining that back anytime soon. He could also try to go Positrons for the splash, but I would worry a little bit about the Cantavis. Does he have anything to deal with the Cantavis? That feels like where you'd go like a Unitary Union for some Unars to individually pick off those Cantavis, right? I think they narrowly survive one Unar volley, so you'd have to hit them with two. But still, like, if you get two Unars and that's your power spike moment, you gun them down individually while the rest of your army fights more automatically, right? No pun intended here with the automata. Zealots engaging from the east. We've got the Dracodons stacking up over here on the other side as well. Looking pretty good. He's actually going to catch some of these Cantavis. There's one more that he's not immediately able to identify in the flock. And a couple more in the way back. So that Storm does end up doing a decent amount of damage. There you go. Finally, the Cantavis will end up going down. Yeah, that was a really good pick. Good set of situations here. Smarty going to be setting up for Positron drops. It looks like his Envoy is done, and he's making double Positron out of those Ardents. His Dracodon count is getting managed, though. You got to watch out for that. Storms can be moved in Cosmonarchy, and Shambler using that to good effect so far to continue zoning the army away, while he just kind of replenishes with Simulacrum. It's not bad. Sim Golem, very, very tanky situation there. And the Artisans are fully saturated. He has made a Nexus, boys. Shambler has been forced to make a Nexus, a moral victory. Only the one Warden here, but this is a depleted base anyway. Oh, I don't know if I like this position as much for Smarty, because if his army ends up getting managed here, and he doesn't get too much damage dealt with the Positrons, well, he can certainly try to reduce the arm. Yeah, he's going to get some good damage there. I don't know, not quite enough, and of course the Warden was never going to go down to such piddly damage. Much better about the stacking. Yeah, it looks like between them they've got 10 worker kills, and 11. Not bad at the end there. I love storming the Envoy. Yeah, that's about it. So, decent eco damage in theory, but Smarty still has less workers. Shambler's just better at pushing the buttons, and he's obviously made all of these extra embassies for the queues for the Artisans. So he's won the ground fight, and a second volley of Positrons. But look at all the idols here. Oh, no. Well, there you go. That's dead. Unloading on him. right then and there. Now he's going to have to switch into something else. I don't even know if a Cantors would particularly help here. I think they'd get a couple volleys off, but the Storms would be able to isolate them, and they can't really move from that position. They'd slow down the whole army, really, by body blocking as well. Very dire stuff in that respect. Simulacrums doing their best. Golems continuing to provide a lot of tankiness here. A lot of Draconin shots in order to get them through. I don't see any manifolds with this army, so there's no armor pen available here for Shambler. But he almost doesn't need it if he gets those storms going. The idols are not very good versus the Draconins, though. I will say that much. 2 armor reduces a lot. And this is just a monocomp at 26 Draconins. They're not really able to get good surface area. The Amaranths are starting to filter in. They're going to take a lot of punishment as well as the Golems. So the front line is going to eventually be very tanky here if Shambler continues to invest into it. And the Sims are actually doing a decent job, believe it or not, at dishing out some damage on the front line. Because it's very clear, right? You wouldn't actually want the simulacrums to be the targets of the Draconin fire. You want the Draconins picking off other things, but that means they have to get in the face of the Sims, which will deal hit scan damage at a reasonable rate. So pretty solid stuff there. Grand Library Rally is kind of funny. Is it really just... No, I don't know where... It was corrected already, it looks like. Witness seeing all of the Artisans at the third base. Smarty's not going to be too happy about that. He's sending Draconins out to cover some of the other bases, and he will be double expanding, it looks like. Not a little bit low on the mineral count for that right now, but thinking about it for sure. And he set up another Positron drop. I actually think Positron drop versus the Artisans is not a bad move, right? Because Draconin's guarding these northern bases from top left. Second Nexus at the same time there. Okay, so going up to 4 bases. Smarty is going to keep us in this game. Shambler not able to bowl him over. I mean, idols, lattice units in general, notoriously difficult to actually defeat an enemy with them, at least versus Protoss. So the Positrons are not really organizing themselves super well here. They don't do a hell of a lot of damage together on any one target. They would have maybe brought down some stuff. He's going to go after the natural. The Storm is a nice attempt. And let's see how many kills we can get out of these Positrons in the meanwhile. You can see him trying, and unfortunately it looks like he's only going to be good for 4 of them so far. He should be able to get a couple of more. Oh, look at that! He even picks a couple of Artisans off. Very nice. So, 8 worker kills overall. The Envoy is, of course, going to be brought down, and we've had a big engagement meanwhile that I think both players are paying a little bit more attention to than I was. SmrtyCakes is starting to fall, though. A lot of his Draconins going down. He doesn't have any splash damage to manage all of the idols. Mass Positron, Mass Cantor, or something like that may have helped out. But again, it's a hard principle to apply because you think about the Cantava Storm does punish anything that can't move and can't be maneuvered adequately. Still, I guess managing the ground army isn't the worst thing in the world here that Smarty could be doing. Looks like the Storm was there to take care of the Envoy after all. And catching a couple of these units on the retreat is not bad. I mean, the Striders are pretty good at poking. That is one of their core principles, their core identities. Cantors are only now starting to come out here. That Cantavus will finally be brought down. Yeah, just these kinds of trades where very few Draconins are going down in exchange for a lot of Shambler units are exactly what the Draconins need to be doing. But Shambler also doesn't really need to opt into this, right? He can set a little bit more defensively. I think he wants to... He's angling for some value here. He's angling for some damage. I think you could see him, the gears turning. I've got 21 Artisans. Can I beat 13 Draconins? He might be able to. He might be able to, especially if the ground army engages at the same time. Another Cantavus going down is big news there for Smarty. He's shut down the mining at the third base as well. Adequate play there. A little bit more damage than he'd like on that Draconin, but the Storm is baited out. Another Golem goes down. Grab that frontline Cantavus. Hell yeah, brother. Oh, but he doesn't quite get it. A little bit more tanky than he thought it would be. There you go. Shielding be damned. He's going to go down, but that's 2 Draconins now. Starting to hemorrhage a lot of durability on them. He does need to think about what he's doing next. The Acantors and the Draconins are going to be reinforcing each other. Artisans are now down here at the... Oh, that's very bold. He hasn't... Did he cancel this for more money at some point? I don't know what would have happened there. Maybe he canceled because he saw the army moving across, but he hasn't saturated his third base. He could be so much richer now if he had saturated that. Oh, no. He could definitely pull some workers off of the third in the meantime, but should have already had it operational the whole time. And With this base being taken, these resources, it's not really a base, is it? These resources being drank up by the artisans. I don't know, man. Shambler still looks like he's in the driver's seat. Way more eco. Not as cost-efficient an army. Let's see if these Acantors can get some value. You're going to need to see the Draken and snipe those Cantavis. Brilliant stuff as the Golems attempt to hold the line. We've got many, many more Acantors where that came from. Oh, but the backline is only now starting to become complacent. There you go. A whole bunch of idols getting blown up as the Drakenins try to focus fire the casters, and way more Acantors than that come in. Could Smarty actually break Shambler here? He's only got one Cantavis left, at least in this particular area. He's going to have to evacuate those artisans. There is no way. What else does he even have working for him right now? That one Cantavis needs to be doing a whole lot of work. Reinforcements are not cycling through from the natural. The Drakenins not actually fighting the Cantavis in specific, but the idols are going to go down here. The splash damage definitely it's a very obvious that's what Smarty needed this whole time. Is he even going to see that Cantavis, I wonder? Well, the Cantors will take care of him. There you go. See ya, buddy. Oh, all of a sudden, that artisan count is going to be brought down a little bit. He's sort of harvesting from 3 o'clock. I don't know how long that'll be for. Positron's now being switched into. Got a Crucible to empower some of this stuff. Man, 5 Acantors. I think he could just siege the front now. Obviously, the Cantavises are here to store him, but the Drakenins are really good at dealing with the Cantavises so that the Acantors can still continue to attack with impunity. The Artisan Flock descends upon the top left third. Oh, the idle splash damage almost killed that Witness. Not the biggest of deals if it does go down. There's no cloaking here. But it's good to have the sight up the ramp, right, if that's where Shambler decides to pivot to. Acantors versus Warden. Warden does not win that fight. But now there's an Acantor of Shamblers. He's adding his own Ardent Authorities. He'll get into an Acantor fight. Yeah, this fight looks a lot better for Shambler with this setup. The Storms are money. The Storms are so good. He even takes out the Witness. No more high ground vision for free. Good idle shots. Good Cantor shots. On both sides, really. Man, such a tightly fought game here. Smarty definitely has a good look in. Feels a lot better than the Crisis Vector game where they both went gateways and then it was Shambler who blinked first and went for other tech and that immediately got him a huge advantage. But still, you made Shambler make a Nexus. I think Smarty already wins because of that. He doesn't qualify, but he wins this game, right? Then we go on to the Decider, Radium, a 2-spawn map, if that ends up taking place. Shambler with the switch into Ardent Tech, though, and with this stuff being actually harvested here, that's actually really important. And that will definitely bring the economics back into his favor. Only now are these artisans being found out at 3 o'clock. Yeah, we're seeing at this level of play, the artisans can definitely get a lot of value because you don't think to look every single place. He's going to find some in the sort of bottom left third. Setting up a 4th base that he needed to cancel. It might have actually been destroyed by the big attack from Shambler, thinking about it. Because Shambler did move across the map while the positron drops were about to happen, so... Maybe that's why it was canceled or destroyed. How it was destroyed. Damn. He's got the Warden for the anti-drop. I love it. He's got a good front line here. The A-Traces are going to be good, consistent damage in the back as well. A couple of units coming in from the east, but that's not going to be nearly as effective. Look at all the Acantors that Shambler's been able to afford. He's outstripping the Acantor count of his opponent. Those shells are deadly, boy. Oh, no. I think Smarty's about to get sent back to the Stone Age. All of his siege is going to be brought down by comparable units on the other side. The Zealot's trying to intercept the shots. It's not enough. Only one Acantor remains, and Smarty, I don't think he's going to be able to move around all those shells, play dodgeball with his life. Dire physical consequences to that game. And that is a wrap, ladies and gentlemen. The army is dead. Can Smarty come back? Does he have anything back at home? It doesn't feel like it, man. He hasn't changed his production situation the entire game since those Ardents went down. I think it's just a little bit too much. He's continuing to find where some of the artisans are, but I think that's a wrap, boys. How is he going to fight this? Maybe he can delay long enough? If he can, you know, blow up a bunch of the Acantors with his own shots. Oh! Not quite enough, though. There's still plenty. And 2 more where that came from, and 3 more where that came from. Good grief. Yeah, they're just not producing at the same rate. Shambler out-ecoing him, and to an extent outbraining him with those artisan positions. It's hard to look for all of them. And Smarty, it's a wrap. He really wanted to beat Shambler. He really wanted to stay in the game to the bitter end last time, even though there was no hope for him at the on the outset of that. And honestly, this game he had a really good fighting chance. It's just it's the slow crawl of death is gonna get the better of him, unless he's got some magic tech I'm not aware of. I can't imagine he's gonna be able to deal with macro Acantor. Acantor, man, is so deadly, dude. It's so powerful versus ground armies, especially Protoss ones. I guess, well, it's probably especially deadly versus like Bio and Zerg, thinking about it, but the Protoss has no air tech, so Smarty's not going to be able to come back against this. His Draconans are hunting artisans, but it's not as crippling as losing a Nexus. The problem is, Shambler made a Nexus, but Smarty couldn't destroy it. Look at that Acantor stack, dude. There's 8 of them. And there's more crawling down. The metal slugs are a little bit too powerful. The Protoss Caterpillars reign supreme. Internally, their name from StarCraft 1 was Trilobite. So, you know, a little fun StarCraft fact for you. This is not the way that I thought this game would go. I did not think we would see a Acantor on Acantor violence here. But I love it. It's great. It's very cool. As more Acantors crawl down, there's a difference of 1. And, you know, he's trying to mount to come back from the ramp there, but he's being stubborn, isn't he? He's got no mining third base. This one is not actually being active. He's got artisans everywhere to deal with. Now we got 6 o'clock being pressured by the ground army while the Acantors continue to charge forward and see how much more damage they can do. Oh, yeah. Pow, pow, bang, wallop. Good grief. Scribe's evacuating. Draconan's moving down as well. See if they can't defend, but the Acantors are moving around. And I think this one is a wrap as well, ladies and gentlemen. Although, I mean, Shambler isn't exactly, you know, he doesn't have a humongous army. It's just that his Acantor count is absurdly high. The artisans will be excised, but there's no Nexus over here. Pylon was made. He's got a lot of Acantors on a ramp. That's really hard to break. But does he have a chance in the game? That's really hard to say yes to. But it's not like he's just sitting here letting himself be eliminated, right? So I can't really on good conscience fast forward now. I gotta wait to see what happens. Maybe we see Shambler yell. Or type. Shambler hasn't actually typed. That's impressive. He could go through a whole series as a changed man. The Herald's coming in. The Cantavis trying to storm. Oh, he hallucinates instead. Oh my god, no! Oh, good grief. The stacked plasma shells there. Now that's deadly. But even though this group will get eliminated there, the Nexus is going down. Money in the bin. He ain't got nothing. He ain't got no artisans. Workers bullying workers here. More coming down. 7 Acantors. Versus the world. Spoiler alert, I think the world wins. I love the scribes here that coincidentally happen to try to body block. I wish I could get hyped about that because it's like a pretty cool tactic, right? Oh, look at that. Owned. Wow. Rip off. At this point, grab all the artisans and fly them into the base, right? Just take all your artisans everywhere, fly them in. Kill the Acantors, they can't shoot up. That's the real move. That's the ego move. I hope that's what happens anyway. All right, I guess I will fast forward a little bit. Come on now. He's moving down the ramp. We need to watch this on triple speed in order to make it work properly. Good dodgeball there from Smarty. Dracodon still being pesky and annoying. There is nothing going on here. No hope for Smarty. Zero hope. Look at all those Acantors. Look at all the artisans. Send in the artisans! Shambler! Shamble your opponent! Save us! Wow. He really is just going to let it happen. The Nexus is being warped in at the bottom left natural, or third base. Smarty is working for that. Big transfer of all of his scribes. But they're body blocking. They're not tasked onto resource fields. Vassal count, 17. That's fine too. Kill him with vassals. I approve of this. Actually, it's funny. Acantors don't have that much armor. So... I don't think he's gonna... He's got one positron, I guess. So, that's something. Going after the Acantors. The positron can do a lot of damage to those, so... You do have to kind of watch out for that, but... The vessel count is still respectable enough. He's gonna be able to just... ignore the positron for now. Oh, he's actually going after it now. It's the second one going down. The front line will finally crush through. We got a nice little cinematic... multi-layered approach here. Robotics. The Cantors are robotic as well, but you know. Alright, now we get to fast forward for realsies, because there's no more combat units here for Smarty. He's got nothing. One of his combat units is Witness. I guess the other one is a Dracodon somewhere, probably. I don't know where it is. Who knows? Wow. Well, Shambler is, oh, I see. He's, yeah, it's just in the game, guys. Canadian. Well, that's it. Shambler does end up moving through. Honestly, while the exact words are uncalled for, the notion of fuck you, which I think is what Shambler meant to say, is probably warranted, considering the guy just stood in the base forever and didn't GG. That's it. Smarty drops to the lower bracket. Arbuz will face the winner of, Shambler will face the winner of Arbuz Kasuga. Little Freudian slip there. I am predicting Arbuz to win that series, but we'll see. Maybe we can get some nice value out of that set. Either way, join us to see if we'll be seeing another 2-0 drubbing PvP. I expect it to be a bit more active than this series, but we'll have some of that later on. So yeah, stay tuned. Subscribe if you're not already. Join Cosmonarchy's coffee page if you want to help support development, and I'll catch you guys next time.